Welcome to Atheist Talk, produced by Minnesota Atheists. Minnesota Atheists practices positive, friendly neighborhood atheism in order to provide a community for atheists, to educate the public about atheism, and to promote separation of church and state. We offer free literature and speakers about atheism to the public, and a free sample newsletter to anyone interested. Our contact information will appear during and at the end of this program. We hope that if you like what you see, you'll consider becoming a member of Minnesota Atheists. Remember, if you're interested in us, we're interested in you. Many of you are no doubt familiar with summer Bible camps. Well, since 1996, there's been a secular alternative called Camp Quest. It's a week-long residential camp held for young people ages 8 to 17. It began in Ohio, and since then, camps have opened in Tennessee, Michigan, California, Ontario, and Minnesota. Today's program is about Camp Quest of Minnesota. With me today are Camp Director Rick Rohr, Camp Program Coordinator Norm Barrett, and two young people who have attended Camp Quest, Laura Arkley and Paul Ronan. Welcome all.
Hi.
Evening, August.
Hey, August. Nice to be here.
Well, Rick, I'll start with you. You're one of the co-founders and the director of Camp Quest of Minnesota.
Yes, that's right.
How and when did Camp Quest of Minnesota start?
Well, as you mentioned, August, we had a camp in Ohio since 1996. Mm-hmm. And in recent years, they looked at expanding and starting more Camp Quests across the country, and they approached us here in Minnesota about having a Camp Quest here in 2003. Mm-hmm. And we got some interested people together and decided to go ahead with it and formed our, incorporated as a nonprofit organization in 2003 and held our first summer camp in 2004. And we've been doing it every summer since then.
Okay. And Camp Quest of Minnesota is kind of modeled on what goes on in Ohio. We took
exactly.
You took some of the best of ideas from there and did them here and did some innovations as well.
Right. Yeah, they paved the way for us really, and were very generous in sharing the programs they developed, the things that worked, things that didn't work, things to avoid. Mm-hmm. I still rely on Ed Kagan and Helen Kagan, who are the founders of the Camp Quest in Ohio. I still call them probably several times a year to ask for advice about something or another.
Okay.
And they're quite friendly and helpful.
Now, how is Camp Quest organized? There's a board?
Right. We've got a board of directors that meets monthly throughout the year. They arrange for the financing, establish a program, take care of all the business-related operating a nonprofit corporation, and also lease a summer camp facility and basically get everything ready for the 1 week we camp each year.
Okay, so camp is 1 week, and you said you lease a camping facility. Who do you lease it from, and where is it located?
Well, for the last 3 years, I think we've been very fortunate to lease the Voyageur Environmental Center. It's a Boys and Girls Club facility that they lease to us for one of the weeks when they're not using it during the summer. And it's located in Minnetrista, Minnesota. It's an excellent facility.
And that's next to Mound, about right. 25 miles west of the Twin Cities.
That's right.
West of Minneapolis. Okay. Now, Camp Quest of Minnesota has some philosophy or guiding principles.
Right. I thought you might ask that question, so I went ahead and wrote them down so I can read them directly from our Articles of Incorporation. Our purpose is to promote a sense of belonging to a large free thought community among the youth participants. And this is important because a lot of young people, and I think Laura and Paul might back me up on this, especially when they're in grade school, might feel somewhat isolated, like they're the only non-believer in their class. And this will get them together with other young people who are also non-believers, so they don't feel so isolated. Sense of community, very important to us. The second one is to encourage critical thinking in the young people to enable them to draw their own conclusions. That fits right in with our free thought.
Okay, so we're not Camp Quest is not trying to indoctrinate people into atheism.
No, not at all. I don't think that would be a worthwhile pursuit. Yeah.
It's critical thinking skills. And I think there's a critical thinking club in Minnesota, and they said it doesn't matter what you think; it matters how you think.
I think Norm's got a favorite expression about that, right? About having an open mind, mm-hmm. but not so open that your brains fall out.
Well, that's actually Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan.
I like to use it every once in a while.
Okay.
And we have two other purposes. One is the third one is to promote respect for others with different viewpoints, mm-hmm. values, and beliefs. And we try to include tolerance in our program, mm-hmm. Because Well, I think that's an important part of getting along with other people, since we're free thinkers are kind of a minority in this country. We're surrounded by religious folks, and we have to learn to how to behave and work with them.
And speaking of that, getting along with other people, this camp, although it's designed by free thinkers, secular humanists, atheists, it's open to anyone, isn't it?
Anybody who's interested in our program
Can come.
Right.
Christians, Buddhists, anybody.
I'm sure, we don't even ask people. I'm sure we've had some attend who haven't been atheists or agnostics or what have you.
Okay.
And finally, we provide a safe and fun environment for personal and social interaction to help these kids grow, develop through the programs we have at camp.
Okay, well, fun is always good.
Yeah, fun is good. That's right.
I also know that you have a pretty good counselor to camper ratio.
Right. Well, it's not quite what it is here today with one counselor per one camper, but we do have typically one counselor for every 2 campers.
Okay.
So it's a very high-quality program because of that. There's a lot of interaction between the counselors and the campers. It runs very smoothly. There's a lot of people pitching in to help out so that the counselors don't get overtaxed.
And it's all volunteer.
Everyone who's involved in this is a volunteer.
Okay. Well, let's turn to the stars of our program, the campers themselves. Laura, you've attended Camp Quest of Minnesota for all 3 years that we've done it. How old are you now?
I'm 14.
14. And Paul, you've attended the first and third years. And how old are you?
I'm 15.
And you're 15, okay. These questions are kind of for both of you. What would you say your favorite activities were at the camp?
I really liked doing candle making. That was really fun.
Okay.
Yeah, they make some pretty cool candles.
Okay. Paul?
I like just talking and stuff. All the different speakers we have there.
Mm-hmm.
Critical thinking skills.
And the field trips were really fun, like the horseback riding, and we went to the food shelf, and that was really, really cool experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the innovative things that Minnesota, the Camp Quest of Minnesota does that I don't think any other camps do, or at least we were the first camp here to do, was to take field trips away from the campgrounds. Mm-hmm. And we did high ropes one year and did horseback riding this past year. But this idea of doing community service at a food shelf, talk some more about that. Norm, you want to chip in on that?
Well, no, that's it. Well, I think one of the points of Camp Quest is to help these kids develop as individuals and their character. And the program committee, we thought that it would be a good idea to maybe have them go out and do some community service this year. And we went to a food shelf in St. Louis Park for an afternoon and learned about all the activities that go on in running a food shelf, and help to pack some food for various families in need, and also learned a bit about income inequality in the United States and how a lot of people are struggling to get by these days. So I think it was a learning experience for not only the kids but the campers as well.
Yeah, Rick, you
And the
wanted to
counselors.
add something?
Yeah, what I liked about this experience was it wasn't just going and doing the work, but they also had an enriching program tied in with it.
Yeah.
So that was what was the name of it? It was the STEP food
Yep.
shelf, right? So.
And I remember the counselors were wondering if the kids would like this, if they would feel it was like, oh, this is work, we're coming to camp to have fun, but this is work. How did you two feel about that food shelf experience?
It wasn't work.
It wasn't work.
No, I thought it was nice knowing that I was doing something for my community.
Okay. Camp Quest of Minnesota, being a secular humanist critical thinking camp, offers some programs that you wouldn't normally find in other camps. And I'm going to mention a few, and then any of you can comment on these. We have a class or talk on ethics, where an ethical dilemma is presented to the campers, and then you break up into small groups and discuss that. Do you have any thoughts on that? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, that was cool.
Okay. I remember some of the questions were, your friend is cheating on a test. Do you turn your friend in or not? And then you had to decide between your friendship and then what was the right thing to do. The first year we did astrology, testing astrology. Every year we test pseudoscience. So the first year we took horoscopes from the newspaper and cut off for the Sagittarius or the Leo or whatever and mixed them up, and people had to guess which one was theirs. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that really well. That was really fun.
How'd that come out?
I'm I'm smarter about that now.
I mean, I think we figured by chance 1 in 12 would get them right, and we had 12 campers, and one got it right.
And one got it right. Your brother was the one who by chance got it right.
Yeah.
And then we had another one where we had a list of 20 personality traits, and we had told you guys that an astrologer had done these especially for you guys, and how many of them fit your personality. And most people were saying, 15 out of 20 or 16 out of 20. And then we had you exchange papers with your friend or the person next to you. And do you remember what that was?
Mm-hmm. That was fun.
Yeah.
They all,
the same thing.
they were all the same.
It was interesting.
And so these psychics can come out with these general pronouncements that might seem really tailored to you. But since we have this common humanity that really fits a lot of us, so that's one of the tricks that they use to make you think that they're reading your mind or divining your future with the stars. Last year we did, in pseudoscience, the ESP test. You remember that? We had some ESP cards, and we determined that 5 was what you would get by chance, and most people got around 5. Do you remember that test? You weren't there, Paul, but do you remember that?
Yeah, that was really funny.
Okay. And then, there was 2 parts to that test. Remember what the first part was everybody guessing, but then what was the second part? When Andy.
Oh, right. When he knew.
He got all 25 right.
Right.
And so then I asked, how many people here think he's psychic? And a couple raised their hand, and then we asked, well, how many think there's something going on between the card reader? And of course, it was a trick, and it got exposed. And the campers figured it out eventually from observing.
Mm-hmm. That was really interesting. I actually went home and did that with my friends.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And I heard that they repeated that in Camp Quest in California. So it's turned out to be a popular thing. And then this year we tested water dowsing, where we had, and Paul, you were there for that, 6 hoses, and we would roll a dice and secretly put water through one of the hoses, and you had to use divining rods to figure out which hose had the water. Now, you both did that. Did you have a sense that maybe you might be able to detect the water, or were you just feel like you were guessing?
No.
You thought it was just...
It was all imagination, like the pendulum.
Okay.
I was into it.
You just thought maybe
I
it
was
might,
like,
it
maybe
might
I
work.
can do it,
Did
yeah.
you happen to be one of the people that got it right?
I didn't get either of them right.
Yeah, and a lot of people, said that, they really thought they would be able to tell. And it turned out the results were just chance. Some of the other things that are unique, we use science fiction fantasy to teach things. We had, it was a big hit this year, The Prisoner. The first episode from The Prisoner, a British TV series from the late 1960s. That was about a spy who gets kidnapped and put in the village, and they give him a number and they try to break him. Did you enjoy that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good TV show.
I'm not even into science fiction that much, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Brought up questions about the individual versus society, and what rights do you have and what rights do you have to give up for society and things like that. Okay. Of course, there's the typical things that we do that you'll find at any camp. We talked about the high ropes. We talked about the horseback riding. Norm, you lead tie-dye T-shirts. You've done that every year now. You want to tell us a little bit about that and the henna and things?
Well, tie-dyeing T-shirts is pretty basic. You just got to mix up the dye, and you dunk the shirts and soak them for a while, and then you just kind of go wherever your mind takes you as far as what kind of design you want to take. And this year we also did an arts and crafts program on the art of henna, which is a plant dye that you can put on your hands and feet and do intricate designs, and it's well known in India and other parts of the world. And I think a lot of the kids enjoyed that one this year too. So.
I should point out that the henna is temporary. We didn't
Right,
send
you're
it
right.
home.
Yes, it only lasts about a week or so, so we weren't permanently marking these kids.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd like to add something to that, if I could, is that, while we're about critical thinking and building community, having fun together, we also try to incorporate the arts into our program to kind of balance off the scientific side of it and help round out the people. And so we've got candle making, the tie-dye T-shirts, henna, and a lot of music, other artistic programs to really address the humanities as well as the sciences.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have sports, too, like any other camp. We have archery every year. And one thing you lead, Norm, is that orienteering.
Well, we've done orienteering. We did that the first couple of years, and that's an exercise that helps people read maps and figure out directions and where they're going. We have a bunch of points laid out across the camp, and mark them with clue numbers, and you have to match them up correctly with the ones on your sheet, given the description on the map. And this year we had what was called a leadership challenge course, which we set up a bunch of different stations around the camp that had various challenging things for the campers to do, such as a blind canoe race where someone had to be the leader and direct two other people in a canoe to go around a buoy in the lake and back, and designed to help to develop the campers' leadership skills and kind of give them a taste of what it's like to be in a leadership situation.
Another unusual thing we had the very first year, Paul, your dad did a class on hypnotism.
That was good.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that? He does this for a living, right?
Yeah, my dad's a hypnotist, and he helps people with any kind of phobia, basically. And he did a demonstration at the camp with a pendulum, using your imagination.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, he'd take a pendulum is, and you take it and you'd hold it still, and then you imagine it swinging back and forth, and it will.
Okay. He tells everyone to keep it as still as they can, but imagine that it's swinging, and once you start imagining,
then it does happen.
It starts moving.
It's kind of like with the rods. You think that's the same thing that's going on.
Oh, so you think the dowsing rods, you just imagine them moving and your body makes it move without you realizing it?
Yeah, I made it move basically the same way I would make the pendulum move.
I see.
We, of course, also at the Camp Quest, you touch on science. We had talks on evolution these 2 of those years. And do you remember the first year when they brought out this big telescope out into the field? And, did you get a chance to use that and see like the moons of Jupiter and things like that?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That was really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Have either of you attended other camps before? Any different camp? You, Laura?
Not really.
Not really? You've attended another camp.
Yeah, I was a counselor at Camp Inahapi this past summer. So.
Okay. And you probably both have friends that have attended other camps too, though.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, how do you think Camp Quest is different from other camps?
Well, my friend, she goes to Bible camp, so
It's
a bit different from them.
completely
a bit
different.
different there.
Yeah.
And what's your experience?
It's more of like a get together, more not really camping, because the lodge is really nice. So it's not like we're not roughing it at all. So
Camp Quest is not rough.
camp resort,
really.
Quest resort.
It's an elevator and everything.
There's air conditioning lot.
That's
So.
nice. Yeah, the main lodge is air conditioned,
Yeah.
and that's very. The cabins themselves in the woods are not air conditioned.
Yeah, but they're still pretty nice.
They're nice. They're shaded, and you guys bring in fans, and so
Running
keep
water,
cool that way.
electricity.
Yeah. Okay. One thing, of course, did you want to add something?
Well, I'm just to think another important thing about that sets Camp Quest apart from some of the other, especially the religious camps that you'll find out there, is that we have actually invited, at least these past 2 years, people from other religious traditions to come out and give presentations about their faith and how they live their lives. And I think that's a very, last year we had a speaker come out and talk about Islam, and this year we had someone come out and talk about paganism, and I think that's another aspect of our mission to help promote tolerance for people with different beliefs. And
Okay. Now, of course, one of the things that the camp tries to do is you talked about the community. Have you to develop friendships from the camp, met some new friends?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Paul,
No.
not yet.
Come on. I think.
But you've had fun with
yeah.
some of the guys there. So.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I
definitely made a
think
lot of good
Fabian was
friends.
hanging on you
Yeah.
the whole week. He thought you were cool.
Yeah, made two slaves.
Do either of you think you'd like to end up being a counselor someday at the camp?
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be really great.
I'm planning on doing it.
And you're planning.
Great.
Okay, great. That's what we like to hear. And then you join Minnesota Atheists, and then you become a TV talk show host. And I can retire. It's great.
Of course.
Well, now one thing we haven't brought up, and perhaps Norm, you can talk about this, is there's a legend of a creature that roams the campgrounds.
Well, I think at Camp Quest we have the legend of the invisible dragon. I think we call him Percy, and every year we pose the challenge to the campers to try and prove that this invisible dragon does not exist. And I think you, August, have like a $20 or however
$100
bill. Oh, it's a $100 bill.
$100
Wow,
reward
that has,
if you can prove the dragon does not exist.
which is a pre 1954, and so it doesn't have the "In God We Trust" motto on there. So it's still it after 3 years it remains unclaimed, and I think there are similar prizes available at the other camps that have also not yet
Well, I
been
know
claimed.
Ohio has an invisible unicorn, and California has an invisible Bigfoot. What do you two think about the invisible dragon?
Well, a whole week we were trying to disprove it. We couldn't really. I mean, we could point out facts that seem kind of absurd, but we couldn't really disprove it.
Well, in fact, that's how Camp Quest got its name, because this was originally posed as a quest, is to determine and prove that this invisible creature does not exist.
Okay. Well, I wanted to bring up some innovations that Camp Quest has done, that Camp Quest of Minnesota has been the first Camp Quest to do. We talked about these field trips, like to the food shelf, and you went to a museum of electricity one year, the Bakken Museum of Electricity. Another thing is the last night we have parents' nights, where the kids work on skits all week, and then they present them at the end of the week. The parents come, and you two have been involved in some skits. Have you enjoyed that?
Mm-hmm. That was pretty fun. Skit practice wasn't the funniest time of the day, but at the end it was really cool to see everyone's skits and perform.
At the beginning of camp, a question is posed, like imagine a perfect world, or what would it be like if you could live forever, or something like that. Imagine no possessions was this past year. And so then each cabin becomes a group and works on a skit on the theme. Then, as an experiment last year, Camp Quest did a one-day camp, a taste of Camp Quest a month earlier. How did that go, Rick, Norm?
You were there,
Well,
Norm?
it was like I think we had a good turnout for it, and it was something we tried last year. Didn't do it again this year, but it was a fun activity. It was sort of a highlights reel of the best programs of the past year or so, and
It was
I think we got a couple of new campers that way, and
I was just going to touch on that, Norm. That was a good way to introduce us to potential new campers without them having to commit to an entire week at camp.
Okay. And then finally, I think Camp Quest of Minnesota innovated this, having Camp Quest activities throughout the year, like bowling parties, skating parties. And so I would encourage our viewers to contact Camp Quest if you have any children 8 to 17 who, throughout the year, not just the 1 week, but throughout the year, would like to get together with other free-thinking young people for fun activities. Well, speaking of contacting Camp Quest, how would people do that?
Well, probably the best and easiest way for most people is to visit our website. That's www.campquest.org. Or you can just call and leave a message for us at our voicemail. That is 952-903-0520. We'll get back to everybody that contacts us. The email address is just info@campquest.org.
Okay.
There's a link to it from our webpage. And there's lots of information on the webpage about the camp. You can download all the application materials there. Learn how to make a donation if you want to, how to volunteer if you want to get involved. Those are my 3 key messages about the camp. Send your kids, volunteer, and support us financially.
Okay. And kids don't come just from Minnesota. You've had kids from other states come.
Yeah, well, we mentioned that there are 6 Camp Quests around North America, and so not everybody has one that's nearby, so they'll travel to another one. We've had kids from North Dakota, from Georgia, from New York State, and one other state which escapes me, Florida. And in addition to the people from Minnesota. Another reason for that people might come to Minnesota, even if they have a Camp Quest that's local, would be if you know, the week that that Camp Quest is operating, they're busy, but they're not busy the week when we're having ours, so they can come to ours instead. Some people go to more than one Camp Quest. So, yeah, spend 6 weeks out of the summer if you wanted.
Okay. I also hear the Camp Quest has scholarships available.
Yes, we've never turned away someone because of inability to pay. We've always been fortunate to find benefactors in the free thought community that will cover or help cover the cost for the camp.
Okay, good. Well, now that we got that business promotional in, which we got to make sure we got in, we do have about a minute or so left, and I wanted to ask Laura and Paul, do your classmates know that you're atheists, and if so, how do they treat you?
That's never really come up between my classmates, but between my friends, they all know, and they're all okay with it, and I'm really open about it too, so I haven't really had a problem with it.
Cool.
That's good.
Paul?
Well, I think most people who know me know that I'm atheist, and it's different like, when I tell them, like they have a different perception on you, but they're still cool.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really want to be friends with somebody who's not going to be my friend because of that anyway, so.
Okay. Have either of you ever experienced problems because of your lack of belief at school?
No, not really.
Not problems, but.
Or any teachers or classmates hassle you at all or anything?
Well, when I was in elementary school, like when I used to not say the pledge, the kids would be like, "Why haven't you sang the pledge?" And the teacher would be like, "Stop talking about it." And then that would be kind of annoying, but then it's not a problem anymore.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, it seems that the younger kids are the ones that are being picked on at school, and by the time you get to be Laura's and Paul's age, that tends to taper off, but kids get a little more open-minded. Which it's a good thing, I think, is that you guys aren't experiencing some of the problems that some of the younger kids are facing.
Do you think it's more okay or acceptable to be an atheist in school? Do you think if someone was an atheist, they could admit it?
I admit it.
You don't have a problem?
I'm open about it.
You're open. And you go to the Hopkins
High
School,
School.
and you go to Apple Valley?
Rosemount.
Rosemount.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, we're out of time. I'd like to thank you all for joining me on the show. I think it's been a
pleasure.
Thank you,
really good
August.
show. And thank you for joining us for Atheist Talk. If you'd like more information about Minnesota Atheists, or we can put you in touch with Camp Quest, please contact us. If you'd like a free sample newsletter, we'd be happy to give you one. And thank you for joining us.